This is Spider-Man 3, where the introduction of the black suit. Effectively, it's a symbiote, if you know the story. An alien being crashes to Earth, and it's like a symbiote, so has to live with another host. And it's effectively becomes, it's a kind of black sticky goo, and effectively takes over Peter Parker. And this is the last in the trilogy directed by Sam Raimi. And it was meant to sort of close the Tobey McGuire trilogy emotionally. And I would say it's the weakest out of all three, even though it's probably the most spectacular in terms of special effects. We have two villains. We've got, well, almost like three villains, because Peter Parker, the black suit enhances aggression, but it also enhances strength and distorts the personality. To me, it's almost like engaging with your shadow self in a way. And I don't know if that was the intention when they wrote it in the comics. There are scenes that are quite cheesy. Parker becomes overly confident, strutting down the street, checking out the women, dancing in a jazz club. It's like really over the top caricature of confidence. But I think it was deliberately portrayed that way by Raimi. It's very kind of Sam Raimi, very theatrical. And you have Topher Grace, who plays Eddie Brock, the rival photographer, who ultimately is a kind of naughtier version of Peter Parker, if you like, in the real life. And he is interesting because when you basically have when you have this Parker actually finding out and realizing the bad impact of the black suit, he then gets rid of it. It's a classic scene in a church where you've got Parker sort of using the church bell, tearing it off himself, and the sound design and the way imagery of Parker ripping darkness off himself is like incredible. A very classic Sam Raimi, quite Evil Dead energy. But what happens is Brock, then his kind of antagonist in real life also becomes his antagonist in the superhero side, because he becomes, if you know the story, what happens, he becomes Venom, and the black suit takes him and he becomes Venom. And ultimately he has to fight Venom in this, as well as the Sandman, who's a very tragic villain character. They kind of sort of turn this back into Spider-Man 1 by a certain sort of sequence they do with Sandman, which is interesting. But I find it's kind of not that powerful. I think it's kind of weak. I don't know if that's how the actual comic book story goes or not. I'm not sure. But the studio kind of decided to put in Venom quite late. And Raimi not a massive Venom fan. He actually preferred Sandman. So Venom kind of appears later on in the film, and it doesn't last very long. You've also got the side kind of story of him, Peter Parker, kind of closing his loop with his friend, the loop of his friendship with Harry Osborn. And for me, this Harry Osborn kind of closure, and Osborn becoming mad. Effectively, like the comic book goes, he kind of inherits the madness of his father, who's the original Goblin. It's quite interesting, and it's kind of poignant, and I think it's a great sort of. It's a great story, albeit I think they added too many characters and it's very difficult. I mean, the characters didn't really get enough time to develop properly. So I would say it's the weakest out of the trilogy. And despite mixed reviews, it was a massive financial success. It grossed nearly $900 million. I don't think it's a massively bad film. I just think it's overstuffed with things. I think the black suit arc is pretty cool. The execution of Venom is pretty poor. They should have really saved Venom for maybe the fourth film. But that's my view. Anyway, this is Spider-Man 3. the effects are incredible, and I love the fact the black suit is kind of iconic. So go and check it out. It's on Netflix, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.